Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of Top 5, the show where I give you guys the top 5 in a subject in progressive rock that I've come up with or that my wife has helped me with or that I've just seen around on the YouTube streets. Things that I just want to talk about and put together a quick top 5 list off the top of my head. Not a lot of research, I just mean for these to be quick shows where I'm able to put out a topic and let you guys in the comments come up with some of your own favorites in that topic. So today my topic is the top 5 Modern Prog Visionaries. I thought this would be interesting as I was thinking about some of my favorite prog artists. I thought there's a certain quality to certain artists that I really love, that they're not just musicians, not just in a band and proficient at their instrument or whatever, but these are artists who have a vision for what music they want to put out, and they often are part of various different projects, or they put together some very conceptual pieces because they have this bigger vision at play of what their music should be. And I really respect that as a consumer of music. I love these visionary people who are able to put together these really cool new projects, these really cool sounds, these really cool conceptual masterworks. And it just excites me in the world of progressive rock. These are artists that just go beyond the normal scope of the music and have a specific vision that is really exciting as a music fan to see it realized in their works. So you'll probably get the idea better as I go through my list of who I've come up with. And I am focusing on the modern prog scene since that's what I'm more well versed on. I'm sure you could come up with a classic prog list of similar musicians, and maybe I'll do that in a future episode. But I wanted to focus on some of the more contemporary people who have really mattered to me in my musical evolution. So at number 5, I have Casey Crescenzo from The Deer Hunter. I think he's a brilliant mind in the world of music. He has created this multi-act series, which is just brilliant. It tells a story across 5 different albums, and each album has its own vision, its own singular style to it, but it all comes together in this fantastic way that tells this very complex, overarching storyline. And he's done the Color Spectrum, which I think is very conceptual in nature, a really cool project where each small album is representing a different color, and you can kind of hear these colors sonically. It's a really interesting way to go about a concept of records, I think. He's also created a new visionary storyline with the release of Antimai and also The Indigo Child that came before it, kind of a prequel. There was even a short film that accompanied this new storyline, and Antimai basically set the scene and showcased the world that this new conceptual series of albums will take place in. And hopefully that'll be continued onward with Sunya, which should be coming out, I hope, next year at some point. So I'm just really excited by his vision, and not only are his albums wide in scope, like conceptually and story-wise, they're also wide in scope musically, because he often traverses different musical genres. He'll do something in a more vaudevillian, old-school style. He'll do something more in a Beatles-esque, drenched in these rich harmonies, Beach Boys style. And sometimes it'll sound more like modern alternative rock or something a bit harder edged. So he's willing to morph and move into these different genres and morph them into the storyline that he's trying to tell, and makes it all make sense within this singular vision. So I consider him to be one of the geniuses in modern rock in general, and modern music, and wish more people could pay attention to what he's pulling off here. So to me, he's an incredible prog visionary. Number 4 is Arion, who's been part of numerous projects. Of course, the main one from my ears is Arion, which once again is a sprawling series of interconnected concept records, and he brings together casts of different vocalists and musicians to guest on the album and to play these different characters. And there's this spacey vibe to all of it. It's very futuristic, very sci-fi tinged. And it's just expertly crafted, this world that he's created, this universe, if you will. And it takes a brilliant mind to craft something so sprawling and so epic, and to bring all these disparate musicians together to create something that feels so singular and fits together as one piece. And he's also done other projects. He's done Star One, where he focuses on different movies. Each song takes on a different sci-fi movie and puts it into a singular piece of music with some incredible musicianship. He's also collaborated with different artists. He did a solo record that was really awesome. He did an album titled Guilt Machine, The Gentle Storm with Aniek van Giersbergen. He recently did Supersonic Revolution, which was like a throwback to 70s hard rock. He just has a lot of different styles that he enjoys, that he grew up with, and that he infuses into his music, this great mixture of classic progressive rock and, of course, some harder-edged prog metal. And it's just a fantastic blend, and I'm just super impressed by his vision, especially with the Arion albums, that he's able to bring this large storyline all together in a fascinating way. Number 3 is Rina STL, who I think is an incredible visionary, who's created so many prog albums with so many different projects. Of course, the main project is the Flower Kings, which has this sprawling discography of so many records. I forget the count now. It's something like 16 records, many of them double albums. He just has a really big vision for these albums. And even though none of them are really purely concept records, they each have their own feel to them. He creates these epic pieces of music that really work well together, that are well constructed, that feel like they take place in the same musical universe. And he's just so prolific. He does so much music. It seems like he has an endless well of creativity to continue to draw from for all of these releases. He's also a big part of Transatlantic, which I love. He's been with Kaipa back in the old days and in the newer iteration for a time. He's done several solo records just under his own name, and also he's done stuff with The Tangent in the early days of The Tangent. He's played and guested on Car Mechanic Records, and he had his own project called Agents of Mercy, which was with Nad Sylvan, an incredible project, underrated in my mind. He did The Sea Within, which was somewhat of a super group of sorts with Daniel Gildenlow and Tom Brislin and Marco Miniman, all these big figures in progressive rock. And he did a record with John Anderson as well, which hopefully there will be a sequel at some point, The Invention of Knowledge. Just an incredible discography, one of the most prolific in the modern prog scene, and I feel like he's always actualizing these big, grand prog visions and bringing them to life in his music, and it's just a wonder to behold. There's so much going on, so many cool soundscapes, different styles coming and mixing together to create a very singular sound. There's something very singular about the Flower Kings. They have a very specific style that he's crafted, and it's just excellent. I really love his work, and I love his vision and ambition. Number 2 is Steven Wilson, who also has a whole host of projects under his name. Of course, starting with Porcupine Tree, which has a sprawling discography, have several concept records to their names. They morphed and weaved into different sounds, started maybe a bit more atmospheric and Pink Floyd style, moving into a bit more of a poppier, more accessible direction, and then finally morphing into this like prog metal act and bringing a bit more aggression and hard edge to their sound. And it's a fantastic evolution, and every era has its wonderful pieces of music that are these expressive, expansive visions that he's brought to life. And he even pushed that even further in his own solo work, where he's done several conceptual pieces that have sprawling, big vision concepts to them, and really has made his mark in the prog scene in that way. He created 2 of what many consider of the best of modern prog in his solo works, The Raven Who Refused to Sing and Hand Cannot Erase, both heralded as some of the best works in modern progressive rock. I think some of his more recent albums are also very excellent and showcase a new vision. And that's what I love about him as a visionary, and this applies to everyone on this list, is that he doesn't get swayed by what everyone's telling him he should be doing. He just does what he feels is right for his own personal vision as an artist and just continues forward in that direction, even if he's going in a more synth pop 80s direction like he did on The Future Bites, which a lot of people didn't care for, who like his more core progressive rock sound. But that was his vision, and I think it was actualized really well for what it was trying to be. A lot of people didn't want to go in that go with him on that direction, but I think he really made the record that he set out to make and cared more about his artistic vision than what everyone else was trying to tell him that he should make next. And the Harmony Codex as well, his latest solo album, I think is very visionary. It has a really interesting soundscape. Every piece flows together in an interesting way. And I think he created that record to have this true auditory sonic experience that a lot of people had listening to it, exploring some atmospheric type sounds and different things, bringing together elements from all his past works in a new and fascinating way. I just think he's fantastic in what he does and accomplishes. I know he's not for everyone. A lot of people, whenever I bring up Steven Wilson, are a little bit like, I just can't stand the guy. But I think he's a visionary. I think he's one of the best. And not only with his own works, but also bringing back classic prog and remastering it and remixing it and like bringing new life into the genre from that side of it as well, showcases his vision to kind of bring classic music back. And he talks about it in his podcast, the Album Years podcast, where he's trying to bring attention to these lesser known albums from throughout history. He's just a music fan at his core and is trying to share his music taste and vision with the world, so to speak. My number one, of course, is Neil Morse, who I think fits this bill exceptionally well also. He has his own vision, and he's followed his own muse. And you could argue or not that that muse at times is inspired by God or by his religion, by his spiritual leanings. But I just think he's a brilliant mind who has this very signature singular sound that he always brings to the table. And some people could probably argue, is he repeating himself? Does he have the same musical structure over and over again? Is it getting a little bit rote and by the numbers? But to me, I think he infuses just enough nuance and new elements to this soundscape. He has a formula, but it's a winning formula, and it works for me every time. And he's able to bring his own personality, his own spirit into the music. He has an odd kind of quirky sense of humor at times, especially in those like classic Spock's Beard days. And he's done so many different sprawling projects, and I think his collaboration with various different prog musicians of the modern era has really brought out new things in his sound time and time again. He's able to reinvent himself just enough, never ditching his core aesthetic and his signature sound, but bringing in just enough new elements and new influences to kind of keep it fresh and interesting. You know, he did the Neil Morse Band stuff, which I think is some of his best work, especially the duology of Similitude of a Dream and The Great Adventure, this kind of 2 double disc albums that can be put together as a 4 disc set of a sprawling concept record that explores a lot of different musical genres, but has his signature stamp all over it and a big, epic, satisfying conclusion that he's known for. He's done so many concept records as a solo artist throughout the years that have a very singular vision and feel. He recently did an album with The Resonance, which is coming out shortly, that showcases another influence from a new set of young musicians that I think is fascinating. He's done stuff with Transatlantic, and a lot of the vision of Transatlantic, of course, some of it from the other members, but I think a large part of it, especially in the early days, was his vision and bringing forward this classic 70s prog into a new era. I think it was fantastically realized. His work with Flying Colours, bringing almost a more pop sensibility into this proggy landscape. He's done a lot for the genre. I think he's doing a lot now to influence a lot of younger musicians as well with his Radiant School and things of that nature. So he's even bringing it forward into a new generation. And I just love him for that. I think, and he never sacrifices his own vision. You know, some people argue, does he lean too far into religion and alienate some people with that? Does he continue to really stay in the same structural elements that he's known for? Yes, but that's his vision. That's what he does, and he follows his muse. He follows what he's passionate about, and that's what I care most about, that a musician is following what they internally think is best for their artistic vision. I don't care about what everyone else tells them they should be doing, and I think Neil follows his own heart and doesn't just let everybody sway him to make the album that they think he should make. And that, to me, is the signature of a great visionary and wonderful prog artist. And these are 5 musicians that I follow religiously, that I will always listen to whatever new things they're crafting, and I think they're all brilliant. So that's my list. Let me know if there's anyone I missed that you think is a modern prog visionary in the same field as these musicians that I've been talking about. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Hopefully you appreciated my list, and I wasn't too long-winded. It's hard to stay concise when I'm talking about literally some of my favorite music of all time. So thank you guys, and I'll hopefully catch you in a future episode. Bye, everybody.